Hello everybody, my name is Barnaby and today I'm going to be doing a deconstruction video of my unofficial remix of Zoo in the Morning. Let's go. So let's turn everything off, all the groups, and just dial back to the sample. Okay, so let's start with the drop. Okay, so on the main sample, the only thing I've really done is just cut out a little bit of the mids, added an auto filter just to automate it in the beginning here, and then just a LFO just to sidechain it a little bit. Most of the processing I've actually done is on the main group. So here we have EQ just to roll off the low end so it doesn't hit with the kick and the bass. And then I've got two different types of signals. So we've got the dry and the wet. So I'm just going to preview the dry. So with the reverb, I've just added a bit of EQ just to take out all the mids and the lows. I've added some echo, Haas effect on it, so it's got a little bit more on the left. And what this does is it just makes it sound a little bit more spacey, a bit more distant. I've kept the reverb off because I wanted to add my own reverb, which is Ableton's large space chorus. And I've just added 38%. It just gives it a little bit more of a reverby kind of feel, a bit more ambience. Kept the stereo full. And then I've just done a little bit more EQing on the end of that. There, when I stopped the audio, you could hear the reverb effect. On the reverb, which I've just showed you here, the claps that I've kept are just the original from the sample. But if you can hear, they've got a little bit of reverb on this part, and then in the breakdown, it's just very dry. And then haven't really done any processing to the claps because I've done most of the processing up here on the group, and the synth I kind of just kept the same as well, which is just from the original. The only thing I really did do onto this is just add a bit of reverb just to give it a little bit more tail. There you can hear it very subtly. Okay, so that's the main sample. The piano I will show you after because I actually made that myself, but right now I just want to show you the kicks and low end and how I actually made them. So the first thing we have is the kick drum. And all I've done with this is actually a techno kick from one of my favorite packs, Repeat Techno. So this is the kick before. So what I did is chopped it down a bit, faded it out, and then I brought the frequency down as well, so it just takes us some of that top end off. Other than that though, it's in the key of C3. So if you can hear, it's still got that top end, but it's just a lot more subtle. And then we've added some EQ, just cut out the mids a little bit around 300 Hertz. Added a drum bus, and I've also just put it in mono as well. What that does is just keeps everything nice and tight. Okay, so let's turn back off that sample. The next thing we've added here is the bass drum. So with the kick and the bass, I've kept them bouncing off each other. So whenever the kick hits, the bass isn't playing, and it just keeps this nice rhythm going and they're not fighting. So this bass is actually an 808. Sounds really nice and balanced. Okay. The next thing is the other sub bass, which is the sub drop. This kind of sound. This is actually a sample, just a sub sample. So all I did with this was just kept the first one at 0 transpose, the second one's -2, -4, and -5. Okay, so those are the three main elements in the drop, and as you can hear with the sample. Just sounds really nice. It's got this kind of pumping energy. It's not too heavy though, it's just nice and kind of progressive, which is something that I really felt into with this track. The next thing is the hi-hats. Then we have the closed hats. Again, took out some of the lows and mids, just added a little bit of overdrive to give it a bit more oomph, just pushed it further in the mix, and then just some LFO tool as well. Because the sample's quite filtered anyway with the sound of the piano and the vocals, it sounds a little bit brought back. So I wanted to kind of do that with all the other elements of the sounds, and then have the hats just kind of pushing through with a top end, so it still keeps the full dynamic range, but it just sounds a lot more mixed better, and the hats have got more room to breathe. That was my idea when I made this. So yeah, with the 909 hat, I just added a dry and a wet, so the dry doesn't have really anything processed, and the wet, we've got a high verb, some overdrive, and some EQ with the mid side on. I did a little bit of a delay automation as well, just to kind of give it that little bit of a shuffle. Okay, let's dive into the rides now. So I've actually got two different rides. So this bottom one's just a sample that I really liked. Hasn't really got much processing on. I just reduced the width a little bit, as I just kind of wanted to bring a little bit more centering towards it. And then again some overdrive just to kind of give it a bit of more of a punch through the mix. And then some EQ, some compression, and just a LFO tool as well. So and then them rides and hats are just really punching through at the top. So next we're going to move on to the percussion. Okay, then we've got some perk loops. Then we've got the actual toms. So these are Spacecraft. I really like these samples. I found them quite a while ago and I've been using them in quite a few of my tracks. These toms here really work well with the low end. Just creates like a really nice groove. So with the claps, that's the percussion. So those are all my drums. hear they sound really nice and balanced and really well together. This is a space call which is actually an effect. I just kind of added it into the melody because it really complements the melodic side of it. So that's the space call. Now in the second drop, when I first heard this track and I really started imagining it, these chords here in which I've made, this is how I imagined the track actually dropping. So when I had this vision, I already actually built this track exactly how it is right now in my head before I even put it down into Ableton. Like, this is exactly how I imagined it. And with these chords, I think it took me a good 7 or 8 hours to find them through different plugins and everything because I wanted this specific sound. So anyway, I found them, created them, and it just sounds amazing. So this is the sound of them. Just, it's very uplifting and it just kind of feels like a little bit dreamy, a bit atmospheric. So this is actually just Silence Key Crockett. So I've just rolled off some of the low end, auto filtered it and just put a bit of resonance on it just to kind of give it that blend into the original track and a bit more of that dreamy kind of feel. Some overdrive, again some mid and side EQ, and then just ambio orbit to give it more space. What I find with a lot of silence sounds is they're not very wide, whereas if you listen to Serum, you know, it sounds huge, like this big sound. Again, just some sidechain, some compression, a bit of overdrive just to push through in the mix. So this is what it sounds like. If you can hear, the sounds just kind of flow from one into the other. And then we've got the strings. So this is Serum, bit of a Hass effect on them. Cathedral. I really like this Cathedral reverb because it sounds holy. So I use this on strings or vocals. It's normally my go-to reverb. And then just a bit more EQ, overdrive, and just some automation on the auto filter. And then again, just some sidechain on the LFO. Let's talk about the breakdown now. So the breakdown, I've got this really nice piano here. And it's just A sharp and D sharp. So this is just true pianos and I've just used the Diamond Classical. I really like this. Now if I play this with the original sound, it's going to sound like it doesn't go together. So it kind of needs something else. So what I did is I did some reverb on it and this just gives it a bit more ambience. Now the auto filter is really important for this kind of sound. So I've just added a bit of resonance and just dropped it back on the frequency a little bit more and it sounds more like this now. So if you can hear, it really works so much nicer with the original sound, a bit more dreamy, atmospheric, which is the whole vibe I was going for the track. And then just again some mid-side EQ, some compression. I haven't really added any sidechain because I didn't think it needed it. It's not in any of the drops, it's only really on the breakdown. I kind of wanted to give it a lot of free form in the breakdown. Some automation on the hats to kind of bring it into the breakdown, and the strings as well. before we kick it in, we just need the final little touches. We actually didn't turn on the synth there, so whoops. Okay, so for the drop, we need some effects and things like that. So all I did is add a crash. I've got a reverse crash here, just bringing it in like some white noise, and then it just drops in. Big long crash. And then I've just added some white noise as well. Added an amp on the white noise. I've set it to dual instead of mono, just to give it a bit more spaciness. By adding an amp, it just sounds more harsh. And then again, some cathedral reverb. The auto filter, haven't raised it full because I kind of progressed it throughout the track, so it flows in and out, and it just sounds like the track's breathing a little bit more. And then I've just auto panned it, so it's kind of constantly moving around. And then again, just some side churn. So yeah, that's the full track. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hit that subscribe button for more content coming soon. Thank you.